experience here in this plane. And one of the reasons why there's a gap is that if I were to be completely in tune or in sync with the archetypal, I probably wouldn't stay on this plane. It would just be out of the plane. So this time we awaken into a full conscious beings being mirrored in history in the incarnation of Jesus, right? In the 12 nights which follow, we walk the circle around the 12 aspects of our own incarnation linked to the 12 essential perspectives of Christ being. This leads to union with Christ and our higher ego, and we know that 12 is the number of the manifest world. So, all the way to Epiphany, which is happening or begins. It's a 4-week process beginning on the evening of the 5th. And so the culmination of human evolution on Earth, Epiphany, the union of the spiritually self-aware human being, personal ego, with the cosmic Christ being transpersonal ego. This is mirrored in history in the incarnation of the solar logos, the Christ into the body of Jesus at the time of his baptism in Jordan. Does everyone have a perspective on that? If we have properly completed the preparatory stages in the winter initiation process, this is when the dove of the Holy Spirit descends upon us as we unify our consciousness with that of the living Christ being. I think we talked about the whole concept of the logos stepping into the sheaths or the body of Christ or body of Jesus, and the Jesus of Nazareth actually exiting so that the solar logos could host or be in the body. Does that make sense? So the baptism, like the phrase there, it's typically translated, this is my son, hear ye him. I think that's how it's translated in some, but in the original, in the Aramaic, this is my son, today I have begotten him. And so it was like the whole concept of being born and being begotten are two different stages of development. So begotten is like when the day of conception, and born is when you come out into the physical world. And so here it is, the solar logos has become begotten on this day. The 4 weeks of Epiphany which follow are the time of the Christ being to illuminate our 4 bodies, ego, astral, etheric, and physical, in turn transmuting them into their higher alchemical stages. And you saw that in Charis's chart. What did I do when I put in the chart? Remember that? Those reflect into those huge periods of time going forward from this particular epoch into the next phases, right? Where the ego, astral, etheric, and physical body are permeated by the Christ. And so we can pull that into the here and now. There are always folks that need to do that advanced work to pull that into the time space. So this way it can take root and the evolutionary process of man can continue in the direction it's going. So, okay, where are we at? We're at an hour. What should we do next? Should I keep reading this? Gate of the Eagle. A lot of stuff in here. And then there's Advent. What's most pertinent? So, oh yeah, so you can see here the dates for 2008. It's not going to be much different for us this year, I don't think. I think it's going to start on the 30th and then run to the 21st. And that whole week kind of gets truncated by the Holy Nights, and also embedded in it are the 3 days of initiation. So here. Right. It's going to be very much similar to that. It's going to start to 1, 2, 3. No, it's going to start on the 1st. Yeah. It will start on the 1st and not November 30th, because that's a Saturday. So that's when it starts. 1st, 8th, 15th, 22nd. The Gate of the Eagle, I would suspect it's still the 1st. Spiritual light in the world intensifies over the 4 weeks of Advent, moving toward a powerful awakening of the human spirit during the winter festival. This is also the time to remember the stages of awakening of the human spirit over the course of human evolution, which leads to conscious interaction with the Christ Logos. Oh, here's a good one for you. The 4 weeks of Advent is the time to remember the 3 sacrifices of the being known to Rosicrucianism as the Nathan Jesus, the Jesus child from the bloodline of Nathan before incarnation, hosting the Christ to transform all of humanity to a higher stage. At a deeper level, a time to contemplate the spiritual sources of our physical, etheric, and astral bodies. 12, 7, 3, and 1. Kabbalistic mysteries. So there's 12 single letters, 7 double letters, and the 3 mother letters of the Hebrew language. In preparation for the mystery of the one linked to the incarnation of Christ. You have 12 holy nights. You have 4 sevens of Advent. You have the 3-day initiation, and all focalizing towards the unity, the union with Christ. Microcosmic level of Advent. Okay. Four weeks of Advent also connect us through Kabbalistic number to the 4 worlds, the 4 bodies of the human being, the 4 kingdoms of nature, and the 4 elements. 7 days of each Advent week connect us through the Kabbalistic number to the 7 planets, the passages through the 7 heavenly halls before birth, the 7-fold time cycles of the chakras, and the 7 life forces: breathing, warming, nourishing, secreting, maintaining, growing, and reproducing. It also links us to the unlocking the 7 armoring segments in the physical body, which imprison our life energy as a critical practice for the alchemical evolution of our etheric life bodies. And we talked a little bit about that. So the seven heavenly halls concept is the processing we do on the way out and on the way in through our incarnation. When we go back into the spiritual world, we process through these 7 heavenly halls given by the Copernican world view with the Earth as the center, and then the moon, and then it goes out from there. That view of the universe was one that encapsulates the spiritual processing that we do through those spiritual destinations on the way in and out. Microcosmic level of Advent. Meditation on the stages of preparation for our becoming self-aware, contemplating our own biography in a way which illuminates each event with its larger spiritual significance for our own evolution. And then we go into Advent. Okay, let's read some of this. Physical body and the will is the first. Etheric body and energetic feeling is the second. And the astral body is the third. Spiritual body being the fourth. This was the confusing part. And I never got to clarify them. Well, I guess it's okay. It's the first Sunday of Advent is the Sunday on or after the 27th. So I guess some years it can actually be in November. So we go to the 27th. Okay, it's the 1st. We already figured that out. The Nathan self first was permeated by the Christ in the spiritual world in order to aid all humanity in the last third of the Lemurian epoch. At that time, the Christ brought the gift of uprightness, the ability to stand erect to humanity through this interaction with the Nathan soul. This reenactment is reenacted in every human being when they stand erect during childhood development. Microcosmic cosm is reflection on how we have used our gifts of uprightness, of independent movement and action. Exercises begin on the armoring segments. Focus of the day, unlocking the armoring in the physical body with restricts our full awareness and sensation. And so let's bounce down into that portion that he was just mentioning. So winter initiation is a multi-step alchemical process leading to a full spiritual awakening. It is essential. And what I'll do is I'll put this in a spreadsheet for and another Excel. So this way you have it. Winter initiation, it is essential in this process to unlock the gates to the temple in the physical body by unlocking the 7 body areas wherein we hold back energetic movement and feeling. And so each day of the week, and so Sunday, and so that corresponds to a planet, of course, you know that, in the 7 heavenly halls. Muscles around eye sockets, top of head, forehead, sides and neck. Muscles underneath where the spine meets the base of the skull. Armoring in this area restricts our ability to connect to higher energy centers. Lips, tongue, and jaw, including the muscles connecting to the jaw to the back of the neck. And it goes on from there. I think there's another diagram that talks about the emotions connected to all that. So I'll do some correlation on this. It'll help me too, because then I'll more fully anchor it. Flight meridian flow. Epiphany. Where did that go? Or maybe he didn't have in spiral. Maybe we did that in class. It's not in the book. I think that's the way it was. It's not in the book. It was in the class where he talked about the different areas and what emotions were anchored there. Yeah, but there's some of them right here. Muscles at the front of the throat hold back tears, sadness, and pain. Muscles at the side of the throat hold back anger. Muscles in the back hold back fear. Ribs, chest. This area is key in unblocking the feelings in the heart, held in the heart. Diaphragm, the muscles of the diaphragm, which are underneath the lungs and drop down into the abdomen with in-breath, rising up the out-breath to help lungs push out air. Tied to the breath rhythm and core emotional blockages. All muscles of the abdomen and lower back. And so part of the practice, like the first part of the practice is just simply for me to put my focus on those areas and feel into them to see if something is painful, restricted. See if I can bring light into those areas. Meditate on what is behind that particular blockage. What's connected to it emotionally. What have I anchored there? And then if I can't get it to clear up, part of what a practice is actually to tighten it down more, constrict it more, and then to release it to see if you can kind of like break it free in the physical body to achieve clearing it. So there's certainly many different ways to do it, but the start for me is simply to put my focus on that each area and breathe in and out of each area to try to become more fully connected to it. And then there's the 7 I am sayings that can go along with that for each day of the week. And so working with the mantra in this case is different from the working with the seed syllable, which I don't know about. In sacred sound mantras, as is common in many traditions, that method works with the direct vibration of the sound and its resonance with particular spiritual forces, and in many ways is etherically centered. This particular Rosicrucian method is astrally centered, requiring precise control and expansion of the consciousness body. The words must be dissolved, alchemically solved into their essential spiritual nature, the direct consciousness experience of the spiritual reality which the word was used to represent. Let me read that again. The words must be dissolved, alchemically solved into their essential spiritual nature, the direct conscious experience of the spiritual reality which the word was used to represent. This is a kind of turning the word inside out to its spiritual aspect. This skill is one of the initiation sciences of inversion, becoming a master of the net or knight of the temple to master the full cyclic movement of spiritual manifesting in matter, alchemical wagla, and then releasing back into the spiritual soul. Got all that? That like really clear? You'll be doing that like every day, right? So, the crown, each petal. So I do meditate every day on these petal lotuses. I say to my chakras, open, and then I love you. And actually, that's not how I used to do it. I first use a pranic healing technique to adjust the location of the chakras to make sure they're centered. I sing shift. And so I think about my crown chakra and say crown chakra shift. Then I say I love you to it. And then I say 8-petal lotus open, clockwise spin. And then I sometimes say fill with the white light of Christ, or I can connect to the hierarchical force, which is the Lamb of God and Aries, and say fill with the white light of Lamb of God. And I go through all the chakras to do that. And sometimes I remember to say, I am the resurrection and the life, raising of Lazarus at Bethany. And so how I feel into that one is, that's the area of the body by which every morning I resurrect, because we go out, our astral and spiritual bodies go out of our bodies and run around in the golden house in the heavens. And then when we return, we resurrect the next morning by getting into that chakra area and coming back down. And so you notice some practices have people starting at the base and going up. And this practice is starting at the head and coming down. And in my thought processes, this is far more commonly needed in the first place because most people aren't in their bodies, especially from a practitioner standpoint. We have a hard, it's one of the first things I check is I check their chakras. And I check to see if they're switched. And then if they're not in their body, we do this little simple exercise of saying shift to each one of the chakras, and you can measure it. You can retest the chakra and see that it's back in. And then whatever the work is going to be done, I feel is much more effective because the person is back in their body. And so each person that comes in and sits in the chair, whether in their foot bath, I check their chakras to see where they're at. And, for most of them, they understand. And then I help shift it back in, and I retest to see that it's back in. And so what I've come to understand is those chakras have to be centered and open and flowing for anyone to have any chance of perceiving the Christ in the etheric realm, which I feel is like my core focus of being a practitioner and doing this work is to do that. Okay. And so you can go through each day. I am the light of the world. Forehead. That one's not too hard to get. Healing of the man born blind. It's like, well, your eyes could be open and still quite blind. And he told him that. You see and don't see. And so, of course, the third eye is right there, and understanding how to allow that light to come through. I am the good shepherd is the throat chakra, walking on the water. That's an interesting thing to think about, huh? I'm not sure where to put that, but I am the good shepherd, and so the word spoken becomes something that leads and guides and protects, and the vibrational force from the larynx. I am the bread of life, the 12-petal lotus, feeding of the 5,000. I am the door, which is the solar plexus, and the gateway to some other studies. The liver, which is there in that same area, is like a gateway to the spiritual realm, and is a critical focal point for the human being. I am the way, the truth, and the life. The sex chakra, the pelvic, healing of the noble man's son, and I am the true vine, connected to the earth. 3-day initiation. So, where are we at? 9/11. You doing okay? Any suggestions? Any comments?
It's 8/11 where I'm at, so I'm all good.
Yeah. Okay, you. No problem, Ben. Yeah, I guess I could have recorded this and posted it on my website on YouTube. I don't think Gilbert would have liked that. Okay, so here's the 3-day initiation process. This is a major nodal point of the seasonal cycle. When the Earth wakes up to the greatest extent and solar forces descend into the Earth's core, similarly, our own human life forces are drawn into our core, awakening our perception of our own spiritual nature and of the spiritual realities around us. This is the time when the spiritual sun forces become very strong on the Earth. This is the time in the breathing cycle of the Earth when the Earth holds its breath, the time of greatest in-breath, preparing for the exhalation of life forces in the spring. The Earth soul is wide awake and permeated by cosmic and solar life ether forces which descend into the Earth's core and create a radiant star with the sphere of gold of Sophia. The elemental spirits of the Earth contemplate cosmic forces and their spiritual blueprints which create the patterns of life on Earth, sacred geometry. The human being is permeated with life spirit forces drawn into our core, giving the potential for deep-souled regeneration. Human thought forces are awakened to the point of becoming clairvoyant of deeper spiritual realities. At night, we are drawn into the earth, where we experience the life spirit of the Christ Son, the spirit consciousness of the Sophia, the divine Sophia of wisdom, in human consciousness and emotion. Like the nature elementals, we may contemplate the zodiacal and cosmic forces deep within us, which give us our form and our physical, subtle body sheaths. External power of the sun is strongest in the spring, summer. Spiritual power of the sun strongest in winter. The winter solstice is the time when spiritual sun forces, so the Elohim, have their sphere of activity at the sun, and of course, Solar Logos has this sphere of activity with the sun as well. The sun forces are the strongest, and high spiritual forces are found in the depths of the earth. So thinking, feeling, and willing. Illuminate your thoughts with full consciousness. Illuminate your emotions with full. Illuminate your actions, reactions, and will impulses. For the 3-day initiation period, observe the elemental beings you create with your thinking, feeling, and willing. I remember first starting to do this. Boy, I would get very challenged by things in the environment, having to test what I was going to do with my thinking, feeling, and willing. So So opening up the energy channel up the back of the body, the coccyx to the head to the upper gum, the governing vessel, and then the conception vessel the next day. And so there's this technique of touching the tongue to the roof of the mouth to circulate the kundalini so it doesn't get stuck and blow up somebody's brain. Um, and then the third is to put the two together. So open the energy channel up the center of the body and from the perineum to the crown. This is called the Taoist yoga, the thrusting channel. This channel joins to the flow of the microcosmic orbit of the energy running up the spine and down the front of the body, opened up in the first 2 days. I didn't bring my little form that I did for. I think I have an impression of what the microcosmic orbit looks like in a biogeometry form, and I made one here. Next time I will bring it so you can play with it. The governing vessel is yin in the sense that it follows upward path from the base of the spine up the head. It then, from our top of the head, moves downward, yang to gum. However, is considered yang for alchemical purposes. The governing vessel is considered yang in the conception vessel, yin, and the governing vessel energy is fiery, hot, and kundalini energy. Anyways, you don't want that fiery hot stuff to get stuck in your head. So if I touch the tongue, the top of my roof of my mouth, I can connect the governing vessel to the conception vessel, and the kundalini energy can flow back down, and this microcosmic orbit form can help do that as well. That's the whole concept, is to circulate the body, and not actually just circulate it, but then to store it. You can store it in your hara instead of circulating it all the way back down to the genitals. Okay, then the 12 Holy Nights. The 12 Holy Nights, from Christmas to Epiphany, are the most powerful spiritual nights of the year. The Holy Nights bring pure forces of life and love so that the real spiritual love arises in human hearts. This is the joyous mood of Christmas. Inspiration from spiritual world flows during the time from Christmas Eve to Epiphany. In olden times in Europe, it was felt that the solstice, both summer and winter, were the most important time of the year for dreams, i.e. direct inspiration from spiritual realities. The summer solstice dream is more enchantment, and the winter is more spiritual. This was the time of the Old Testament Jewish festival of the hallowing of the temple and of the Greek festivals of light. It was and is possible for people to experience powerful inspirations from the spiritual world in the period of 12 holy nights. During the holy nights, the plant elementals have communion with the mineral elementals, the gnomes. This communion involves the gnomes' knowledge of the original spiritual ideas, archetypes, and sacred geometrical blueprints which create the physical world. In ancient times, certain women were especially prepared to be priestesses to experience. We talked about some of this. Personally, I have not connected on this level. Be aware of. I attempt in my daily practice to think about the gnomes and send them like white light and spiritual forces that are beneficial for them to do the work. But I have not been able to, during this time of year, during the Holy Nights, to do more than that. So I'd be interested. One of the reasons why I'm sharing this is I have the perception that the people I'm sharing it with are going to go way farther, deeper than I have, and pull me along, which is a nice, happy thought. Happy to have you springboard right over my head and teach me a whole bunch of stuff. 12 Holy Nights connect to the 12 cosmic forces, the 12ness of the New Jerusalem, the 12 stones, breastplate of Aaron, the dodecahedron. Yeah, that's 12s in the physical world. On the following pages, the zodiacal forces which lay at the foundation of the 12-fold rhythm are passed through one per day, beginning at the top of the head, Aries. The holy nights start at sundown. And so you kind of get it. The head starts with Aries. Aries is in April. That's when the year begins. So the holy nights start at sundown, the traditional beginning of the new day, and each day is broken into 3 different aspects, any or all of them, which can be the focus of the day's practices, depending on which you resonate best with. Western, okay, so he just kind of discusses the layout. This connects the 12 signs of the zodiac to the successive areas of the human body, beginning at the top of the head and going to the feet, including Rosicrucian sense, virtue sense, worldview, and a rhythmic constellation. Eastern system, this connects the 12 signs of the zodiac to the primary 12 energy meridians in the body, beginning with Aries and the lung meridian, and conclude with Pisces and the liver meridian. The physical, emotional, and mental aspect of each meridian are described. You see, deep spiritual truth is my note. Did you get it? And the spiritual radiesthesia is what Gilbert, it's his own little practice that he's embedded into biogeometry. So he teaches spiritual dowsing with the biogeometry concepts. Like an aside to that is the dial, which is not here. And you can do, especially in the vertical planes, you can do testing for detrimental entities and such inside the construct of the spiritual dowsing. But he's also got it here. So it's like if on each one of these days, I would take that dial or wear that color as well and do the testing for those things. So it's something that is emitting the energy of black does not necessarily black. It can have that energy associated with it. And so, I don't know, this is a little bit difficult and I'm not doing a good job. So the biogeometry breaks the spectrum into 12 bands. You can see them there. It's not in order, but black, infrared, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet, ultraviolet, white, and negative green. So that you would go around the circle, and that's basically the manifest world, and it's the 12 bands of energy of the electromagnetic spectrum that biogeometry talks about. And each band has a beneficial and detrimental component. And I can say that differently. I can say each band has an incarnating and an excarnating component. And so if you're in somebody who has cancerous type state, has got a bunch of vertical negative green in their system. And we can test for that. And it's demonstratable. And so part of the process is to clear the vertical negative green or understand why it's there in the first place. Negative green being the spiritual carrier wave. So like the guys that first were doing D. Belazelle and I think John Beret, I think was his name. There's a third guy, and I don't remember. They all died of cancer because they didn't realize that the vertical aspects of what they were testing and handling were excarnating forces, and they caused the organism to wither and die. Actually, it will mummify. It will mummify you eventually. Okay, so that's the spiritual radiesthesia portion of what he's going to have. Okay. And then we go into the Holy Nights. Now, we could let you, I mean, we don't have to finish all this tonight. We can have another meeting. I'm happy to do that. I see a thumbs up. Two thumbs up. Lori's going, no, let's keep going. More. Oh, dear.
I think it's good for tonight, Paul. You've done a great job.
You're welcome. So what we can do next time is I'll figure out how to get the audio to play into Skype, and so you can hear some of Robert Gilbert's descriptions of that, because I think his impulse is quite extraordinary. And then we can go through each of the days. Is there anything more to say on Advent? And I will go through and condense some of this. We don't get it all, but you'll get a condensation of. So the simplified meridian flow is basically to exercise and stimulate those meridians on each day that it's associated with. And it's quite invigorating when I remember to do it. Then the weeks of Epiphany, we won't talk about that yet. Anyways, that's enough on that. So one last thought. I've got this concept in myself that one could rebuild if they went into resonance enough, or to a greater extent, one could rebuild a particular area of their body, of their physical body, as well as their astral and the rest of it. And each phase in the year, each month has the allowance to doing that. Anyways, more to come. We can talk about that again. So when would you like to meet next? Next Thursday is the 28th. It's Thanksgiving. I'm not opposed to doing it then. We could also do it. School's out, yeah? Not having school, so are you more flexible? We could do it Wednesday.
I can work around anybody's schedule, really. I'm busy Monday night.
What if we use Black Friday and turn it into Holy Night Friday?
We could do that.
But I'm going to be
like
shopping. Just kidding. Hey, Paul, quick question. Where did you take this?
Smells like
cover?
Walmart in here.
Down in Asheville.
That's right. That's right.
What about Friday, folks?
Yeah,
Friday's good.
Yeah, Friday can work.
Let's do some spiritual alchemy and convert Black Friday into a fabulous transmuted day. How about that?
Beautiful.
Woohoo! What's a good time? Same time?
I think so.
Mm-hmm.
Agreed.
Good.
Yeah, we can do it. I mean, it's quite pertinent, and it will. We'll go back over Advent. Maybe I can get him to get that streaming so this way, because Advent will start, on the 1st, and then we can. The more of the practices you can bring into your consciousness, the more you can do them. I mean, it's hard just when we're working, but to take time each day to do that, really beneficial.
I love it.
Yeah.
Oh, we're grateful. Thank you for sharing such
Well,
important
Thanks so much,
information.
Paul.
Thank you.
I'm very
Awesome.
grateful as well, because it's a passion of mine to do this and to have a group to do it with. So I'm very grateful as well.
I think this could be such a key part of the Elm for, not that we have to be involved every year, every one of us, but can you imagine for the initiates to go through this and have different leaders, rotate through it every 3 or 4 years to walk this path with people? Pretty powerful.
Yeah. I think one of Douglas's last lectures, he was pointing to this very fact that this one is a powerful exercise, and two, it's quite necessary. So just another little funny is last year. I just remembered that last year on Christmas Eve we watched another zombie video.
No.
Oh yeah, this
Stop.
is so funny. This is really funny because we were invited to friends, and we were sitting there, and they had this video on, right? And it was literally a zombie video. It's like a cartoon. I forget the name of the cartoon. It was horrific. So the thing that was different though this time was, so Gregory is there and he's watching it, and I went into like a deep meditation. So okay, Paul, just because it's stormy outside or there's videos going on doesn't mean I can't have quiet inner and outer contemplation. And so, and Gregory was there, so I went as much as I could to help balance his field, his chakras, because we can do that for other people, right? We can project that into. I do that for Julian Assange, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
If you want to join me in it, you can do that.
Absolutely.
Shift those chakras and to. I was meditating on that while this video. I mean, it was really bad. It was amazing how bad that cartoon could be, but. And so I talked to the regulators. How did you like the videos? It was so terrible. After we watched this, okay, I'm just going to use this as an opportunity to, challenge this inner practice to maintain inner and outer. But of course, we got home and the dog had pooped all over the place. So I'm not exactly sure what that was trying to tell me. Anyway, the part of the key thing is for me is to be consciously aware, and the last Holy Nights were really good. I felt very, very good going through them, and the year, for the most part, was pretty stable, and so I look forward to doing it again. Look forward to doing that with a group of people that can help hold the resonance, that can go off a lot further and get more than I've ever gotten and share it with me.
Right. Thank you, Paul. Thank you so
You're
much.
our best. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you. This
Thanks,
is
bud.
amazing.
So until we meet again next Friday, adios. Have a great evening. Sleep well. Wonderful dreams.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night, folks.
Good
Bye-bye.
night.